Hello, Lumio lovers. It is Tuesday, so that means that we are back with another Lumio live stream. We're your hosts. My name is Lois, and I have Meesh with me here. Say hi, Meesh.
Hey.
So today I'm kind of excited. We are going to explore some ways to help support neurodivergent learners, right? There are some brand new tools, which is kind of a thing for Lumio, right? And so we're going to go over some of those tools and also those tools that you have loved for a long time with Lumio. So let's get started, Mish.
I am so excited. I feel like the last few months, Lois, every couple weeks there's new features and I can't keep up. There's just so many things I want to talk to everyone about. But this is something I'm really excited about, especially for any of our former notebook users or even current notebook users. This is a feature that lots of us have been requesting. And so I wanted to talk about it specifically in the framework of supporting our neurodivergent learners. So a really simple activity that I'm going to do. And if you haven't yet joined, go ahead and join in if you'd like to engage. You can go to lumioclass.com and enter my class ID, which is 181461. You'll also see it right on the bottom of the screen there. You can join my lesson live time. Lois is joined in on her iPad over there. All right, so a really simple activity that I might do with my students is I might ask them to show or share animals that live both in water and on land. And I always like to remind my students that when I do a whole class whiteboard, they have the ability to write, draw, add an image, record your voice, whatever works best for them. I also did record myself reading these instructions, and I do like to convert this on the fly to a whole class whiteboard because I really like to make sure I've got all my students, on the same page, remind them of the instructions before I do release them to do an activity. So I'm going to click on my little people icon right here and convert it to a whole class whiteboard. So as you all get access to edit this page here, again, kind of just circling back, I feel like, Lois, we talk about this so often, but really giving our students the ability to engage in a simple question in so many different ways is so important, right? When we think about supporting our neurodivergent students, really giving them so many different choices. When I think about students with ADHD, autism, dyslexia, anxiety, or even my students that have speech or language differences, they really might struggle to express their ideas verbally or in traditional formats like a worksheet. So now that you saw my instructions where I reminded you that you can bring in an image, draw a picture, record yourself, I'm really offering you multiple modes of expression. So it really helps my students to tap into their strengths, feel really safe participating, and also just stay engaged longer. Taking a look. Oh, looks like you both brought in some pictures here. Someone's trying to draw.
So I am trying to draw, but I am not an artist. So I put a picture in there to kind of give me a reference material. It's not going to look exactly like that. It's kind of looking a little like crabbish, but I'll add a. There you go. Now you know it's a frog,
I
right?
love that you labeled it. So as you're working on that, so I might challenge you to maybe do another one because I wrote animals. So maybe you want to do a few. While you're doing that, here is our new feature. And again, I want to think about it. You can use it for classroom management, but I specifically want to use it to support those neurodivergent students. So I'm going to come over to my gallery button here. And you'll notice now there's a new button right here that's a toolbox right in the middle. And here are our brand new widgets. Yay! We really wanted those to come over from Notebook. Those are part of the beta features right now. So in a little bit, I'll remind everyone how to turn on your beta options. But I'm going to grab this traffic light. All right, so over here, I'm going to just put in the corner kind of out of the way. I can change the size of it. I can also add in some labels. So as I add my labels here, I might say, let's brainstorm. And that's what you are all doing right now. For yellow, I might write 1 minute to go and all done. And the reason I really like to use this option, especially as I'm thinking about my neurodivergent students, I'm going to make it a little smaller so it's out of the way here, is one of the hardest parts of a day for my students, especially when I'm thinking about my neurodivergent students, is transitions. Transitions are so often the hardest part of the day, and sudden changes can feel really overwhelming for really any students, but especially when I'm thinking about my neurodivergent learners. So being able to now, as I might be ready to kind of start to wind down in this activity, switching it over to yellow, to giving them that warning that there's a minute to go, it gives them the predictability, which really reduces the stress. And it also offers them visual cues, which creates equity for those students, because not all students might catch verbal cues. I might just say, hey, everyone, let's jot down our last few thoughts. But this visual adds something very, low pressure for those students, especially any students that might struggle with auditory processing, giving them, a little bit more to focus on, and also really just that emotional safety for them.
I always say it, Mish, like I was a nervous child. And now later on in life, I realized that it was a little ADHD-ish things happening, right? But I didn't know that. And some of the teachers that I loved the most, that I felt the most safe and comfortable in their classrooms, would give me a heads up of what was happening in that class that day, right? And it just made the biggest difference in the world. So I really love that one of the tools that teachers absolutely rave about is the ability to go from teacher pacing to student pacing. I could have seen myself in a classroom as a young girl being able to have it on student pace so I could review what was happening so I could feel prepared, right?
Absolutely. You said you were a nervous child. You said we're past tense. What is it like to just be a nervous adult all the time? I'm function on just being just nervous. It's just part of my being. Hi, I'm Michelle. I'm nervous.
Right? I
But tying it all back together, really, like, I just want to think about, for students, transitions are invisible for some of our students and extremely loud for others. And so using something like the traffic light, or you notice the other new widget that was in there was also just a simple timer. It gives students, especially our neurodivergent students, a chance to stay regulated, contribute meaningfully, and then also just feel really successful and supported in that moment. And so when you combine having a nice flow for your students, offering them flexible ways to respond to a question, just kind of like using the whiteboard and having those different ways, like I saw some of you drawing, some of you brought in images, you wrote, you typed, you're really hitting such a great sweet spot for UDL. And so then everyone gets access and everyone gets a voice. And I just think that that's super important.
I couldn't agree more. I think that this is a really great way to provide those different modalities of preference, right? And, if you'd like more on easy tools to make learning work for every student, you can dive a little deeper into learning about Lumio. You can register for future webinars. And we also have some really great webinars coming up, don't we?
We sure do. And I'm going to show you those in just a second, because before I forget, because I always do, I want to really quickly show you, because those new widgets are part of our beta features. So I really quickly popped out to my Lumio homepage here, and right in the top right corner icon, I'm going to click on my little picture there. And mine right here says about Lumio beta. If you haven't joined, yours will say join Lumio beta. But if you did click there, it'll give you this pop-up. Make sure you toggle it on. And you can always click right here to see the list of the features that are currently there. We just moved a few features out of beta into just available for everyone, such as object linking to making choice boards. So make sure you've got that turned on so that you can access those widgets, which we're so pumped about for classroom management and supporting our students. But yes, we do have some exciting upcoming webinars. Actually, tomorrow I am doing one on using our games for end of year review. Going to be talking a lot about why using games for learning and for reviewing is a really powerful tool. So make sure that you sign up to attend that webinar. The link is in the chat for you. And also, if you've missed any of our previous webinars, they're always recorded and available on that same link. So if you click on the link in the chat, the top half of it is all of our upcoming webinars. And then if you scroll down, you'll see all of our previous ones. I know, Lois, you were talking about how you were really excited about some of these.
So I watched Carrie Fulgham's webinar because she is always lighting up learning in Texas. She is one of our ambassadors, and she's in Lubbock. And I just love how she showed how to use Lumio for every grade level. Very simple, easy things to do that they do all the time. And then the most that I have received requests for information is actually the webinar that was on the science of reading, right? Like people absolutely love that webinar, and I still get requests for the link to that as well. So I highly recommend anything that you want to be able to do in Lumio. Check out our webinars if you can't do it live. Anytime you register, you also get a link to the recording, so you can always stay connected.
All right, with that, we'll